In today's video, we will go through a list of AI tokens, the ones that I think will do very well in 2024. I will provide you with a bunch of information on each and every one of them. We will check out market caps, fully diluted market caps, what exactly is happening with the projects. I will provide you with my feedback. And on top of that, we will rank the tokens for the amount of access that I think they might be able to do in 2024 and probably 2025 as well, because no one knows the future, right? So we basically have a list of tokens like Render, Akash, Fetch.ai, BitTensor, Echelon Prime, and others, right? And I will rank them from 2 to 5x to 100x's. Obviously, 100x is like crazy high risk, and probably it's never going to happen. But I will just like to provide you with this information and share my opinion on these AI tokens as well. In general, the main reason for this video is because it's quite an interesting and large narrative at this stage. I don't think it should be neglected. Therefore, it's probably one of the most narrative that I have least exposure to. And at the same time, I think it's going to run as well, just because of the fact that we have very interesting situation in the marketplace currently. We will definitely see institutions' money coming in this year and the next one, and probably in the future as well. And institutions, they will definitely be investing into the things that they understand. Imagine you just made a bank in stocks market with AI projects. Would you be investing into AI projects in crypto? I think so. That's very easy. It's very straightforward. So I think they would be investing in the first place into finance and finance products that they understand, things like stacks and others like DeFi and Bitcoin most likely. And they would essentially be investing into AI projects as well, because they understood it performed on the marketplace. They've educated themselves already, so they don't have to educate themselves a lot here. And this is essentially what I think will be happening as well, because I doubt they will be like throwing money into some games or like meme coins and things like that. That's more essentially about crypto VCs and crypto guys to use memes as a marketing tool for a certain platform that we basically had Bonk for Solana, right? Cheapest, best type of marketing that you can get. Very smart. I actually know the market makers behind Bonk, but I do believe a lot of people know them as well. Alright, so let's start with Render. It's quite interesting that Render is actually like largest market cap token in this list. We see that the current valuation is 1.7 billion and the fully diluted is 2.5. So it's quite interesting and quite nice because it does not have this large fully diluted valuation. Therefore, your holdings, they will not essentially be diluted by investors receiving tokens daily and just dumping on you, right? Render is an older project from the last cycle, but it's doing very well currently. And the main reason for that is because it has a very interesting combination of narratives. We basically had narrative like DeepIn popping up this cycle as well. There was no DeepIn last cycle, right? This part is also about AI and GPU rendering, which is kind of about gaming. So it's combination of three very strong narrative and probably narratives that will perform very nicely in the bull market as well. That's why essentially a lot of people are quite bullish on Render, because it's always safer to put your money into things that are the combination of narratives. And by the way, a lot of tokens that I will be showing here, they essentially are the combination of narratives. I just think that Render is one of the most strongest one in terms of that. Fully diluted is not that large as well, which is quite interesting by itself. And it's also about this vision of decentralized metaverse. I know that a lot of people, they kind of don't want to even hear anything about metaverse currently, but I'm telling you, narrative is alive and it's going to go like crazy because it's alive in ordinals. It's not alive in centralized metaverses. It's alive in ordinal space, which is very interesting by itself, right? And the main issue, the main thing with metaverse is that it should be decentralized, right? Centralized things like doesn't work. Facebook, Meta, Sandbox, Decentraland, like they're good to an extent, and I think Decentraland is being run by DAO, so it's quite decentralized at this stage. But anyway, it does not work if the metaverse is centralized. On Bitcoin, we already have the option with bitmaps and all the developments that are happening around this space to have a decentralized metaverse. In order to have a decentralized metaverse with nice graphics and things like that, we would essentially need to have endless amounts of GPU power in order to render this metaverse. And I think product like Render is exactly something that could be used for this part as well. Very bullish on the vision, on the whole thing as well. If we imagine that humanity will be present infinite amount of years, right? We will definitely develop a metaverse that's way better than our current life. Are we living in the simulation? So the market cap is 1.7 billion, but it's kind of like at the top of AI narrative, a DP narrative, and as well at the top of gaming, I would say, because yeah, like metaverse narrative as well there. So very, very interesting. I would want to put it at like 10 to 25x, but 25x for render, yeah, just crazy. So I would just put it from 5 to 10. It's 2024, 2025. So bull market and things like that. Next thing is Akash, right? Quite bullish on this thing as well, just because of the fact it's a combination of narratives, it's AI and DePIN. A lot of people are essentially talking about this token too. And fully diluted is not that bad actually as well, which is very, very interesting. It's also the token of the previous cycle. So it saw the bull market in the first run and the second top, which happened because the money were printing. And right now we're kind of at the stage of the correction that was happening in October 2021. Very, very interesting. So it seems that we are quite close to the all-time high for this token because we are only basically 2.5x down from the all-time high for this token. We see that fully diluted is only 2 times larger than the market cap of the whole thing. And essentially in terms of the project, the world's premier decentralized compute marketplace, Akash is an open network that lets users buy and sell computing resources securely and efficiently, purpose-built for public utility. Very, very interesting. They also stated that the source code is open, that is being run by the community, which is very, very bullish and generally in crypto. At the same time, it might be bearish because of the fact maybe there is no manipulator behind this token as well. But these are just assumptions. If we have the fully diluted market cap 2 times larger than the current market cap, then there is definitely a market maker. There's definitely something working on this token to put the price up, to capitalize and make money for the team, because this is the only reason that people basically have with crypto projects, to make money in the first place. Everything else goes right after. So I do believe it's something similar to Amazon Web Services, which is quite bullish that you can actually use these computational resources in a decentralized way, deep in infrastructure. Very, very interesting from that point of view. Talking from the previous cycle, which is being appreciated currently, I do believe the main thing for that is AI narrative, of course, with ChatGPT and things like that, and DePIN. And I believe Akash is one of the largest tokens in basically DePIN, which is decentralized infrastructure, right? So we have 700 million market cap at this stage. I would want to put it to 5 to 10x, but before render, because the market cap is larger. I would want to put it at 5 to 10x, but before render, because the market cap is smaller. So basically, there should be a more upside for this token as well. The reason I'm not putting them higher is because the market cap is quite high at this stage already. So like 10x for something like Akash, it would be 7 billion, definitely doable in the bull market. I don't think that people understand like what inflows of liquidity we're actually going to get in the bull market. On top of that, a lot of people that took part in the bull cycle in 2021, they maybe were able to catch only the end of it. So they didn't expect the whole thing where they were positioned into the market before actually the whole thing started to surge. So it's going to be a very, very interesting experience by itself as well, right? Next thing is Fetch.ai, $500 million market cap. There is something interesting I actually want to share on the website, right? So on this website, if you're basically scrolling down, you see the piece of code right away. So you can understand what the target audience of this product is. So these are engineers, these are developers, because this thing, if you're not an engineer, it scares you right away. You also see huge buttons, see docs and GitHub on the top. So everything that website is focused on is to attract engineers and make engineers build using Fetch.ai, which is interesting, which is bullish by itself, because engineers, they move first. Engineers, they onboard to the platform, they work, and then the price appreciates over time if they're building good stuff and things like that. And it's interesting thing in crypto that if you're just betting on winning engineers, you would be able to capitalize a lot, like on engineers who are actually delivering and developing. Benny Track. Essentially, development tools are a very, very interesting, profitable business model from the point of view that they would have to use them anyway. Probably if engineers implemented the development tools into their own product, they will keep staying with them. They will be not changing them. And overall, over time, you would essentially be probably charging for the amount of API calls that you're getting from a certain product, or basically just put someone on the SaaS subscription. But usually it's actually the amount of API calls. And it's quite interesting because this way you would probably mostly be charging whales, therefore making the service free for everyone else. So it's easy to onboard, it's easy to get started, and it's easy to work on this thing. Great website, focus on the engineers, interest in technology, very, very interesting. We also see that this is the token from the last cycle, which is quite interesting by itself. We are at around $500 million market cap at this stage, and we see that fully diluted at 700 million. So it's not that bad in terms of the investors and early buyers dumping on you. So it recently did a 3.5x. We had a correction to 0.47 in the low, so that's around 40% from the highs, and currently we are surging higher. It's very interesting. Like, I think something that will be happening with the market in the upcoming 1 or 2 months is quite exciting. Whether or not we will essentially draw like a double top here and just correct and go down, or whether or not we will basically just surge up and it's going to be up only. Definitely very, very interesting position in the marketplace currently as well. So in terms of the Fetch.ai, project from the previous cycle as well, $500 million market cap, development tools. So from one point of view, it's a bullish type of thing because it essentially will be used in different products. You can think like Chainlink, because oracles, they're basically just being used everywhere, right? At the same time, like, it's harder for the public to basically understand the value of these things and FOMO into them and things like that. And the benefit of that is that it's quite stable, because you won't probably have like average Joe holding this token in the first place. You would probably have some technical people that understand these things, some people similar to people that were holding Cardano last cycle, because it was more around the engineers, and a lot of engineers, friends, myself that I know, they were actually buying into Cardano because it was kind of appealing to engineers as well. So I would want to put it from 5 to 10x, just because essentially it's also the token of the last cycle. It's quite large market cap at this stage. It's quite a stable peak. Therefore, I think it would be harder for public essentially to FOMO into this thing as well, because it's mostly for the engineers. BitTensor. Vitalik basically said that if you want to do an AI project in crypto, do it as BitTensor does it, right? Fully diluted, 11 billion. Current valuation, 3.3 billion. So we at least 4x from here, which is great because we do understand that there are parties essentially involved into the product. Circulation supply is only at 30%. So it's easy to push up the price of the token. I will give you some alpha right away. Market maker, even if he only has 5% of the supply of the token under him in his wallet, he already can do moves with the chart. He can already draw the things that he needs to draw. Very, very important. He will basically have 30% of the supply circulated, 11 billion market cap overall. So we can definitely understand that there would be manipulation with this token as well, because people that invested into this project early, they're looking to make an ROI. They're looking to make money. They're not looking for anything else pretty much. Very, very healthy run. So I remember BitTensor and essentially surging as one of the first tokens, and even here it was quite a large market caps already, so it did 9x. Then we corrected to $200, which is pretty much around 40% as well from the highs. Then from $200 we are at 530. Very, very nice as well. It's kind of this thing about taking profits early in the cycle. If you are sitting in the good tokens, if you were able to get like these entries, personally, that's not a financial advice, but I would not be taking profits because we are early in the cycle. Just sit with your tokens. Like, do you want to time the market? Do you want to sell here, buy back here, and then what? Like sell here? And what if it would just go straight up? Then you would basically just sell your tokens. So this is something that I'm essentially a fan of. If you got nice entry, just sit in it, just do nothing. Doing nothing is also doing something. It's actually quite hard to do nothing, right? So BitTensor is essentially this flagman of AI at this stage. This is the token that everyone knows about it. I think it's one of the safest picks, and people that don't know anything about AI narrative, about projects, they would be just buying into BitTensor. And essentially this is the advice from my end as well. If you want to get exposure to AI, but you don't want to figure out like different parts, different tokens, just buy BitTensor. It's going to be great. Not probably at these levels, but because we're at all-time highs, I think we might see correction going down, but that's essentially just an opinion from my end, right? One of the things that I like about BitTensor as well is that it's actually a token of this cycle. So it's not something that was present in the previous cycle. And the main reason I like that is because it did not see a bull market. So it did not see the manipulation yet. And manipulation will definitely happen because the fully diluted market cap is 11 billion and the current market cap is 3 billion. Very, very bullish from this point of view because, again, everyone is looking to make money on the market, and people that invested into the token early stage, they would be looking to capitalize on the investment to make a nice ROI. And I think already they're quite happy. And I think for all this accumulation period, the market maker was basically just buying out the tokens from the people who were selling, who were becoming desperate, sad. They were seeing like Casper surging in the bear market, and their BitTensor was just at zero, right? So they were selling. Market maker was buying, and then boom. Manipulation, we are going up, and I'm not going to get into the token at these stages. Maybe if we would essentially see a huge correction, but yeah, it definitely should be like very, very large correction for me to get into this thing at this stage. Although I think it will do very, very well in the bull market. So it's essentially the first token that I'm showing and checking out, which is AI token from this cycle. I would even put it at first, like the first in terms of the 5 to 10x. I do think it can actually do a 10x from these numbers as well in the peak bull. What do we have here? Echelon Prime. The reason I'm showing this is because it has a great combination in terms of the narratives. You have gaming, you have AI, and probably if you are the gamer yourself, you played the Elder Scrolls Skyrim, which came in 2010, 14 years ago. Yes, you are that old. And you probably saw these videos on YouTube like shorts where basically people are installing AI into their companions in Skyrim, and they're talking to them about different events in the game and things like that. So it's actually the ultimate vision that I see for gaming and for the future as well. Imagine you yourself just sitting in the capsule with something like Neuralink essentially installed in your brain. You're sleeping all the time, and capsule basically helps you to sustain the body better. So you are able to live for 150 plus years. At the same time, you're connected to the metaverse. You don't need to sleep, or you need to sleep a very, very low amount of time. Your productivity skyrockets because you have implementations of all this AI. You exist in the metaverse, you work in the metaverse, and you also have AI characters in the metaverse. This is essentially the vision of the future that I have from my point of view, and I do think that we will actually see it in our lifetimes as well. So obviously Echelon Prime has long way to implement something like that, but they are, I think, one of the first games in crypto that are actually implementing AI into the game, which is very, very exciting. Like if proper AI would be implemented with the kind of character models written, with the stories that they are provided with in the first place, and they would be able to interact based on certain events, you'd be able to talk to them. Very, very interesting. From the investment point of view, why I think is going to do well, just because of the fact it's the combination of gaming and it's combination of the AI as well. Let's check out the overall chart. It's also the token from New Cycle, which is very, very bullish. $2.8 at the lows and $10 at the high. So somewhere around 3 to 4x's. We had a small correction. So interesting that a correction here was quite small. It was like 30%, right? And it's quite bullish from that point of view, because we do understand that people, they do not want to sell this token. They do not want to give away the tokens because they do understand the potential behind this thing. Circulation supply is 23% at this stage. Market maker is probably also buying out all these tokens here, and fully diluted is 1 billion. So it's 4 times larger. We will definitely see manipulation. These things will definitely go higher because people are looking to make an ROI. It's also a token from this cycle, which makes me quite bullish. And interesting that we are already higher than the price of the IDO, at least on the coin market cap, because often coin market cap, it does not catch initial prices of the IDO. But interesting thing that these people that were buying initially, they were able to break even at this stage, which is bullish, because that means that essentially sell pressure might be gone from early adopters who were buying into this thing initially. Interesting project, quite bullish on the combination of the narratives. Let's actually try to rank it. 200 million market cap for the Echelon Prime gaming, which will be pumped by Alex Becker and Elliot Trades, with the largest YouTube channels and largest following on YouTube in terms of the gaming space. And token of New Cycle, all the good stuff that I mentioned already. I would put it at 10 to 25x. I think it would do somewhere from 15 to 20x in the peak bull. So it should put us at around 6 billion market cap, which I think is doable. Obviously, depending on the game and depending on the things that they would be able to deliver and actually push on the marketplace. But following the fact that this thing corrected way lower than Render, than Akash, than Fetch.ai, it means that people do not want to sell the token. Maybe they know something. AIOZ, what we see right away. The token of previous cycle had a pump in November. Actually small one from 0.2 from, just 4x's. So a small one for that cycle. And then accumulation, 0.01, 0.015. Wow, boom, 10x. From here, right? And basically currently we are at 10x's from the lows of the accumulation period of the bear market. Interesting thing about this part, then this token, is that it's 150 million market cap, but fully diluted is also 150 million. And we see that tokens in circulations, they basically equal to the total supply of the token. So all the tokens are in the market. Some people are saying that it's actually bullish for the token because you don't have people that will be dumping on you and essentially diluting the supply as well. From other point of view, you might think that there is a case case that we might not see a manipulation happening, because maybe people who are launching this token in the first place, they took the profits here, and we had a distribution stage here, and they were basically selling here as well on the correction. So maybe they basically worked out this token as well. They don't have any much more money to fixate from this token. But despite the fact we had a 10x from the bear market, it's quite interesting in terms of the things that might be happening with this product and this project and this token. Deep in AI play, love that. AI storage streaming. Bullish on basically three of these words. With storage, decentralized storage, great, awesome, nice implementation in terms of the node structure and things like that. I would love for people to essentially share their storage spaces and launch nodes and essentially provide a part of the storage to other people in the network so they can basically use it. Interesting implementation for the decentralized infrastructure. Streaming, quite bullish on this thing as well, because this is something that needs to be done. I think streaming is a very, very great opportunity in order to be decentralized, in order to essentially put it on decentralized rails, on decentralized projects as well, and essentially after that, like build some type of dApp platform where streaming is decentralized. But I'm sure there should be some of them ready as well. The fact that it has nodes, it might essentially cause certain selling pressure, but we do see that all of the tokens are in the circulation supply at this stage. So it's quite interesting if the node holders are receiving benefits and tokens at this stage for essentially running the nodes as well. If they are, there would obviously be selling pressure all the time within the token. So 150 million market cap, fully diluted is equal to the market cap of the whole token. Token of the previous cycle did a 10x already from the lows, but essentially did a 10x from 15 million market cap. Would I wanted to put it to 10, 25x? Alright, but after Echelon Prime, just because of the fact that the token of the last cycle, however, it pumped way higher than Prime already. So it did a 10x and Prime did what, like 4x. But I would say the 10 or 15x with essentially AI and DP narrative picking up and the peak of the bull market as well. Next thing is PAAL AI. We have 120 million market cap with 150 million fully diluted and 78% of the tokens in the circulation already. We recently had a pump, basically just this day, from 0.1 to 0.16, basically 60%. This is also token of this cycle, which makes me quite bullish because it's interesting in terms of these AI plays that everyone is talking about. There are not a lot of tokens from this cycle. So we only saw like Echelon Prime, BitTensor, and then we're seeing PAAL AI as well. The fact that fully diluted is not that high for the new token is also quite interesting. Maybe it was like some type of fair launch, or they didn't want to basically fundraise a bunch of funds as well. So we see from the lows of the October, it was at 0.02. At the highs in November, it was at 0.2. So basically a 10x as well. Crazy things. And we had a correction to 0.1. So we had 50% of the correction. So that pretty much means that a lot of people, they entered this token based on FOMO, and probably they were selling in negative here and maybe somewhere here. And right now we're pumping back. It would be interesting if we would essentially draw the same type of high, or if we would be able to move higher on this token as well. With PAAL AI, you can basically create personalized bots for your businesses, for your products, and essentially have them on the platforms, talking to people, answering questions and things like that. I do like things with revenue sharing and rewards for stakers. The only issue I have is that revenue sharing only works if you basically have revenue. So if it's a proper business, in our case it's essentially a SaaS business, I would be interested what type of MRR they basically have, what type of churn rates, and essentially how they're working with the products, what type of customer support and things like that. All the things that are very, very important to run a SaaS business in the first place as well. 1% of all PAAL trading volume, AI tool subscription, service revenue sharing, 15% referral rewards, partner projects, airdrops, right? Yeah, so it's mainly about revenue, because we have things like Rollbit, they're doing like crazy revenue, but they're talking and basically dumping anyway, despite the fact that they're doing a very, very nice amounts of revenue, because they're basically a casino, and casino is doing nice amount of revenue all the time, right? So MRR is the main thing. How much money this thing is making on a monthly basis, and how many active clients does this have? So it doesn't mean that it won't run. It will probably run just because of the narrative, because we are in crypto and people just throw the money into things that they see and they don't care. I do like the kind of like the call to action right away. So you're on this page and you see get my bot now. So it's a clear call to action. You only have two things that you can click here. So you can only click get my bot now or menu, which is very, very nice. So the attention is focused on call to action. It's very, very clear call to action. I do like the wording on this call to action. Maybe they A/B tested this page as well. Very, very interesting. Yeah, so you can also click on the contract. You can also check it out, and you can also click on the socials, but it's not that obvious. Like obvious is to click on get my bot now or the menu. Then you basically have to scroll a bit And yeah, you can see all the tools as well. AutoPAAL for X. We see things like coming soon, which means that they're still in the development. So a lot of things about this token, it will essentially depend on the fact whether or not the team would be able to deliver and if they have previous SaaS experience, if they know how to run SaaS businesses with customer support, with churn rates, with essentially growing the MRR, with referral programs and things like that, with some partners who would be bringing them leads. So it's this type of interesting kind of workflow. If they would be able to deliver. If they will, it will just pump and go like crazy. But at this stage, we're essentially just thinking about the price of the token, whether or not the token will fly or not. So, as mentioned, fully diluted is not that large, although it's the token of this cycle. It has a feeling of tier 2 token. So, I don't think it might be doing like large numbers. It might do like a 10x max from these levels. That's something that I'm just thinking from my end because it did a 10x already. And again, I'm the fan of not taking profits on this thing. It's not a financial advice, but if you basically were buying somewhere here and you've done like a 10x here, just hold your tokens. You have like a 10x, maybe you have like several like thousands of dollars, several tens of thousands of dollars in this token as well. 10x more, you'll probably be a millionaire right away. Or you would probably have maybe like you had 5K initially, you have 50K, and then you would essentially have 500K. I think it's a very, very healthy and great thing if you're in the projects that are doing like 10x's at the start of the cycle, which already means that you have a bunch of tokens in this project. And essentially, once this project will pump more because we're at the start of the cycle, you will make like a bunch of money, and it basically came like from free funds. So you basically just invested like 5K in the first place. You may want to take your 5K out and put it into the next thing, but it's essentially up to you, right? And it's very, very interesting that the whole goal of the market maker is to shake you out from these positions because he understands that people that were buying here, they caught a 10x here. So his goal is to shake you out on these corrections. So you would see that essentially the amount of money that you have with these tokens is going down, down, down every day. So you would want to essentially take profits on anything. And the moment you would take profits, the moment you would sell, he would pump the price back up. The main reason for them is because it's very, very important for the market makers to change hands, to make sure that people that bought early, they would essentially sell somewhere here, new people will buy in, and then the market maker will push the price higher. And the main reason for that is because if someone bought here, for him to do a 2x, you would basically need to push the price of the token to 0.2. And for this guy, if we would push the price of the token from 0.2, he would be back at his 10x's. And for example, for this guy to have a 4x, he would essentially need the price to be at 0.4 level, right? And this guy at 0.4 level, he would basically have 20x. He would probably be taking profits on these things, and therefore he's dumping on the market maker. And that's something market makers don't like because basically you have to spend funds to push the price of the token up. So the core thing they're doing, they are trying to change hands. So for early people that randomly got into the token, they need to shake them out in order to be able to push the price up easier because everyone on the market is looking to make money. Right? PAAL AI, yeah, I do think it seems like a tier 2 token just from the like website and things like that. So I would say like 10x from here, depending on the market, depending how the whole thing is going to perform. I put it the first. The only reason I put it the first is because basically the market cap is low. That's the only reason I put it the first, right? Now, something that I don't see a lot of people talking about, and I think that volumes on this thing, they're quite low, but I do know OGs, yeah, it's only like 200K a day, but it's great because you see the volumes is up 50% in 24 hours, which means that we might be expecting some type of move for this token as well. So inSure DeFi, also the token from the previous cycle, which might be bearish from my point of view, but it had a pump, but very short pump. It's quite interesting. So why I'm bullish on inSure DeFi and what the project is about basically. It's about insurance, right? If you know insurance businesses, they are the largest, they are the oldest businesses in the United States. And the main reason for that is because they have shit ton of profits. With the business models that they are running, they're generating like crazy profits. And it's a very easy mathematical essentially model to implement in terms of the insurances and things like that. And it's older, very great businesses as well from the point of view of business. I'm not talking about how they're treating the customers and things like that. Great industry like insurance developments. Software engineers for insurance companies, they just go into way higher prices than software engineers for even like Web3 things, like because like insurance software development is basically like a separate niche where engineers, they actually have to be onboarded and they actually have to understand what is happening there. Explain a video. I do like explaining a video. That's the advice that I actually wanted wanted to give to Fetch.ai. If you would essentially put and explain a video, you would disqualify people who do not want to hear about the token, about the situation, things like that, but you would be able to catch the attention of people who really would want to understand things, and explain a video basically explains everything very, very well. The only issue I have is that it's 2 minutes. Ideal amounts of seconds for explaining videos is from 40 to 50 seconds as well. And I would do a preview a little bit more bright, so in terms of the colors, because it's a bit shallow. Like I don't want to click it, but I as essentially a visitor of the website, it's the goal of people who are making the website for me to want to click into this video. enqAI DeFi ecosystem aims to provide stability to the crypto world, protecting investors from scams, stolen funds, and drastic devaluations of crypto portfolios. Do you think it's relevant? Did you lose money last cycle? I did. I think it's relevant. We do already see like a bunch of scams under like each and every hype topic, like Satoshi VM, for example. There were a bunch of scams in the comments, like claim our airdrop and things like that. And obviously there are a lot of new people on the market. They don't know if they should be connecting the wallets to different websites and things like that. So these scams, they will continue happening. And if we will have this super cycle, we will have the largest amount of retail coming in. Therefore, they will basically be losing the largest amount of funds. That's why I think things about protection, security, insurance, they will come into play and they will do very, very well, because there would be a demand for the products like that. So I would say we might still be in the accumulation phase for this token. I would say it might be a more longer term play, but it's essentially the 100 million. I think it's a very, very great investment from the point of view of basically being able to insure your funds. And following the whole chart, you can also see that we're still in the accumulation zone, which is very, very interesting by itself. I do know some whales that I met on the conferences last year in Dubai that are buying into this token. I'm sharing you a bunch of insights on this channel, like market makers, whales. Like and subscribe, alright? This is something that you can do from your end. I think it's not that hard. You know, guys, I would want to put a 25 to 50x. It's kind of like from the last cycle, but I would say it's more all or nothing situation. Because I do think that kind of security, protection, and insurance narrative will come back in the peak of the bull, just because of the fact that there would be so many scams, like so many people that will lose the money, they will lose the things on the wallets, and even like more experienced members, they catch FOMO, they connect here, connect there, bam, all the funds are basically gone. I do think that there's a high chance that this narrative would essentially come back, and I do think that there's a high chance that this token would do very, very well. But again, it's all or nothing situation. I do believe it's a more longer term play. So I do think if you would be buying into this token at this stage, you might be ready to basically just sit and wait for it for a lot of time. Me personally, I was actually buying into this token back, I think in September, based on the call of the whale that I was talking to, and I actually sold because I saw that everything else is moving and this thing is not moving, and essentially I bought something else, right? But I do think from this like stability point of view, from protection point of view, from insurance, it might be a very, very interesting pick, and it's also still in the accumulation phase. But you would probably need to essentially wait for long, sit for long, and essentially wait for these things to happen. Last but not least, enqAI. This is the only token that I hold from all of the tokens that I basically just told you about. And it's quite interesting it's also a 20 million market cap. So you can understand I'm a degen, right? So with this thing, enqAI, what they're trying to do, they're basically trying to do a decentralized. So they're basically trying to put decentralized, uncensored ChatGPT on blockchain. That's the only thing, like that's the only phrase, that the only sentence that you basically have to know about the project. Imagine if they would succeed. Like I would think if they would succeed, it would essentially be $1 billion project. But it's a very, 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 very high risk. Why? Because we're kind of betting on some people being able to deliver something that was never essentially done before, putting ChatGPT decentralized on-chain. The good thing is they actually have something to play around with. They have some bots, they have some AI implemented on the website, so you can go check out and play with the whole thing. Market cap is quite low at this stage. Fully diluted is essentially the same, so we do not expect to see manipulation. I do believe that when I was researching, essentially they were fundraising some. If you would see this dump, right? Like this is very, very manipulated. Like we see the pump, then we see the dump, then we see the pump again. So it's just crazy. I was entering at 0.01, so I basically like at 2x at this stage. I actually got the generation entry. I was writing about this on Twitter. Like I basically bought this token 1st of January at 9 a.m. So when everyone had a hangover, I was sitting there, I was researching this token, and I got like a 2x right away here. Then we got back again to 0.011, right? And now we're surging back up, which is nice. but I do plan to hold this thing long term. Yeah, this is basically just something for you to check out. This is very, very high risk. It's kind of all or nothing situation. It can run just in anticipation of the market that, wow, they're doing something great, if they would essentially be able to develop it, but it might be in price already, right? And at these stages, so we're surging up. I don't think I can't say I would be buying it, but if you essentially would research the project for yourself, if you would check out the team, if you would like it, you might be able to understand that you would want to get in just because of the fact that the market cap is at $20 million at this stage. I was also checking out the white paper. I was discussing with different people whether or not the team of the token is anonymous or not. So essentially, I was doing quite a lot of research on this thing. But yeah, it's high risk, up to you. And the chart is heavily manipulated, as we see here, because this doesn't look good. This does not look good at all. Despite the fact I would put it at the 100x and I would put it at the high risk. 100x from here is 2 billion. It doesn't have any fully diluted valuation. It's similar to basically the market cap of the whole thing. So it's a very high risk. It's all or nothing situation. I'm up currently already, so that's why I'm holding, and I'm not taking profit. That's something that basically just burned me heavily in the last cycle. My thought process here, I'm not taking profit because of the fact that we are at the start of the cycle. Therefore, I expect from most of my tokens to perform in the future moving forward as well. This is essentially the overview. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe if you like the content. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. And thank you. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.